Hello, welcome to the week 3 of our series for prioritizing your health. So this week we are going to be learning about how your lifestyle impacts not just your physical health like we've been talking about, but also your mental health, especially your diet. We're going to have a really close focus on how your diet impacts your health. Your mental health in particular. So I'm going to give everyone a couple minutes to come on in. Okay, so how is everyone doing? Awesome. Yep, got a few more. Okay, so I've gotten a lot of feedback on the previous weeks, and it looks like you guys are really plugging on and implementing a lot of the tips that I've given you, which is great. I've gotten feedback that they are fairly simple and you're enjoying that. And I'm really glad that that's the case. I'm trying to keep it simple because I know life is hard enough, right? So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. People can continue to roll in. All right, so tonight's topics, we're going to review some of the skills that we've learned so far. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that because you guys can certainly go back and watch those and refresh, or if you haven't seen them, you can get caught up. I would recommend if you've missed any to go back and watch those, because each week we're building on previous information, and I would hate for you to miss out and have that void. So we're going to review, we're going to talk about what it means to be mentally healthy. You know, we talk about mental health and it can tend to be abstract, or people think that they're, on the fringes, that they're unwell, or, we're going to talk about that. And then how lifestyle impacts mental health. So all of the lifestyle choices, every choice that you make every day does actually impact your mental health just as much, maybe even more than your physical health. It's all tied together. And then the steps, again, I always leave you with some to-do things. You can, take what works for you and leave what doesn't, right? So I usually leave you with 5 steps that you can take to address this. All right, so where are you in the journey? So this is week 3. The first week we talked about diet culture and how to break free from that. And, we did a lot on practicing body positive or body neutral. If you're not there to get positive yet, at least be neutral. That is the minimum of where you should be, instead of this self-hatred and this culture that tells us that we're never enough and that our bodies need to look a certain way, which is not actually even achievable, and that equates to health. And so, of course, we get stuck, we get trapped, because that is maybe 2% of the population can reach that ideal. And it's so unrealistic. So there's a market for this, right? If they can have you believe that you are not enough and that you need to continue to work on it in order to be healthy, even not even be good or desirable or whatever the case may be, then they're going to continue to sell you things. It's a huge industry. So I'd love to know any of your struggles in that area that you've had so far, and or successes. So please share that, just specifically for week 1 for breaking free of diet culture, okay? The answer is flowing in. Okay. Yeah. So I'm hearing a lot of moving to neutral is hard enough. positivity seems impossible, and it will for a while. There's a lot of undoing to do. So again, continue that journaling of all of the things that you are so grateful for your body. Tell yourself that in the mirror. When you are trying on your clothes, our instinct is to depreciate, devalue our body and criticize. Catch yourself doing that and start instead talking about all the things that your body can do. It doesn't even have to be its appearance, because I get like that would feel like you're lying to yourself right now. So instead, practice gratitude. Look in the mirror and think about how this body has produced children or carried you and kept you healthy. That if you are able to walk, run, play a sport, any of those things, that's something to be grateful for. If you are able to craft or have a hobby, thank your body for that. Thank your mind for enabling you to complete the tasks that you complete every day. We do a lot and we don't give ourselves credit for it. Some of you are saying that has been wildly successful and that you've seen your attitude change. That's remarkable because it's only been a couple weeks. So imagine if you continue this habit. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing Paula has said that it really opened her eyes to the messaging that she's getting on a daily basis. So that's amazing. That's what I want to do. Because once we pull the curtain back and we can actually see what's happening, they can't trick you anymore, right? Like you still might have the tendency to beat yourself up because we're so conditioned, but you see that it's not based in truth and that you have more value than that. Okay, so the second one with the habits. So last week we talked about how to create lasting habits. So have any of you tried to implement any of those habits? Have you created some small habits that you've tacked on? So I talked about tacking them on and building on things that you already do every single day. And okay, look at that. All right, so we've got squats while waiting for the water to warm in the shower. Perfect. I think that might have been one of my suggestions. I don't know, but good for you. Okay, and we have someone that has begun to make a healthy lunch to bring to work while she waits for the coffee to brew. Perfect. See, you guys have got this. This is amazing. I'm so proud of you. And that's just in a week, right? Imagine. So we can continue, make sure that that's a habit before you start tacking on a ton of other habits, because then it could unravel on you and we don't want that. But yeah, that's fantastic. Okay. So I don't want to take up too much time in review, but I did want to check in and see how that was going for you guys and let you know how proud I am of you. And that's fantastic. Okay, so what is mental health when we talk about that? So according to the World Health Organization, mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. So notice that there's a few things in there, right? That you realize your own abilities, right? So that is kind of like embracing gratitude, right? Like you recognize your abilities and it doesn't say that you're grateful for it, but in order to recognize them, usually we are pretty grateful. Can cope with normal stresses of life. So you're not in a state of complete overwhelm, right? Normal stresses of life, you can roll with it. You're flexible. You know, all those things that happen when you are resilient and dealing with normal stress. Can work productively and fruitfully. So you're able to focus. Your mind is on task. You are not distracted by negative thought patterns, or just distracted by anything, and you're able to make a contribution to your community. So community is a really big piece in mental health. Okay, so after hearing that, how do you feel that the state of your mental health is today? I know for me, living in a time of a global pandemic, for 2 years now, it takes its toll and it's hard. And, that coping with the normal stresses of life, well, these aren't normal, but they've become normal. They've normalized, right? Like this is the normal right now. And I would bet that the majority of people have reached a breaking point. That would be my guess. And that all of us really do need to pay attention and take care of our mental health at this moment. This is a very, very difficult time, and there's compounding pressures on us and trauma. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of yes, I feel that. That's where I'm at. Okay. So hopefully this is really useful to you. I'm going to give you tools on how to better manage this, right? Okay, so the first thing that I want to point out is that our mental health predicts our physical health outcomes. Okay, so these two things are totally intertwined. You cannot separate them. And by ignoring our mental health, we are degrading our physical health. We are literally taking years off of our life if we ignore our mental health. There's reasons for this. So how we interpret, frame, cope with events in our lives. Okay, so tragic things happen to everybody. And right now is a good example because we are all living through this same traumatic event, right? And how we interpret that and how we frame that in our mind actually creates hormonal responses as a part of our survival mechanism. So if we interpret it as threatening danger, if we are always hyper alert, hyper vigilant, that's going to create a response, a physical response in our body. Okay. And this actually triggers our physical being. It triggers responses in our body. And over time, that's going to degrade our health. Okay. If we are in a constant state of survival, it puts us at risk for a whole host of physical ailments. And conversely, your physical health impacts your mental health. Okay, so we're going to focus on the positive for a minute. These lifestyle habits are a positive impact on your mental health. So I'm going to read through them, and I want you to put in the chat how many of these, like which ones of these do you feel like you have a good handle on? So in order to have strong mental health, you need to have consistent sleep, enough sleep every night, good quality sleep. You need to exercise daily. You need to move your body. That exercise actually puts out those feel-good hormones. It actually releases stress more so than I attribute exercise to be more helpful for your mental health than actually your physical health. While it is really good, obviously, for, you need muscle, you need to be able to function. It helps you with daily function. But the mechanisms that happen in your body really, really, really impact your mental health. So when people are trying to lose weight is usually the biggest thing that people incorporate more exercise. They do it as punishment. And they think that the exercise is going to be the thing that helps them to lose weight. And yes, exercise increases caloric burn. However, it also increases appetite, and your body is this amazing machine and it adapts to our lifestyle. So if you have a very active lifestyle, your metabolism will shift and make sure that you don't starve to death. And it will keep you alive, and it runs very efficiently. So that exercise is not actually useful for weight loss. Okay. But what it is useful for is mental health, which actually is a predictor for weight loss. So if you are in a good place mentally, you are going to be in a good place physically. You're going to make better life choices. You are going to choose better foods to put into your body. And you're going to have less cravings. Okay. And meditation and prayer. So I meditate every single day. I'm not religious per se, but meditation and prayer are virtually one and the same. They have the same impact on your physical and mental health. So it has that nice grounding, keeps you connected to the moment and your physical being. And then yoga and stretching. Again, moving your body and doing it in slow, deliberate ways. And this kind of bridges the gap between exercise and meditation and prayer. It's kind of like that in between. It's like a moving meditation per se. So you're getting both the movement and you're getting that grounding connection with your body and with the moment. Gratitude / journaling. So practicing that puts you in a good frame of mind. It helps with that, like what I was talking about, with that framing of things that might come up. And that doesn't mean that you Pollyanna it, right? Like you don't say everything's good, everything's great. But the journaling piece can help you to get out any negative things and then ending it with a sense of gratitude, whether that be just, well, I'm still alive. I'm grateful I'm still alive. If that's all you can muster, then that's fine. You know, I'm grateful that I have a bed that I can sleep on, or I'm grateful that, you know, I've had another day of life. So you don't have to, it doesn't have to be huge gratitudes, just keeping it simple, but it helps to put your mindset in the right place. Daily outdoor time, I cannot stress that enough. Like the science is so clear that connecting with nature and having sunlight and fresh air and hearing nature, seeing nature, being surrounded by nature actually is good for your brain. It triggers a whole lot of responses. The serotonin, that's calming, feel good hormones, the neurotransmitters all get released when you're out in nature. So trying to do that every day, even if it's just, you know, a 20-minute walk, just being in the moment and observing nature. Don't be distracted. You have to actually take it in. But it's really important. Close relationships. So it has been shown that not having close connections and relationships with people is actually more detrimental to your health than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. And we all know how bad that is for your physical health. Having close relationships is vital to a person's mental and physical health. So we need to foster that. And right now, in a time of extreme isolation and loneliness, that's really difficult. That's really, really difficult. So you have to make a concerted effort to do that and to continue and maintain those relationships and feel connected to people. Healthy diet. So we're going to spend a lot more time on that because that's my actual area of expertise. And I think I have a lot to offer. So after this, you guys can continue the journey on our university and do a lot of classes for free and know that this is helping your mental health as well. Okay, so I've seen a lot of comments come into the chat. Okay, so a lot of you are saying that sleep is something that you're struggling with. That's hard. That's a hard one to tackle because there's so many components to it. But maybe one of these days I'll do a workshop on just specifically targeting sleep because there are some things that are in your control that you can do. And if you want, I can, let me know it within the class after this when I post the replay. Start a chat and I can put in some quick things about sleep if that's a struggle. Okay, so a lot of you have a good handle on exercise and prayer. Awesome. So there's one comment, daily outdoor time in times of COVID has become our lifesaver. Awesome. I'm with you. When you can't do anything else, when things are all closed. Okay. Close relationships. Yeah, a lot of you are struggling with that during this time, looking for ways to connect with people. Okay. You are in the right spot. All right, let's see. So I am in awe of the human body all the time, which is why I chose the field of nutrition, right? Like I think it's fascinating how it all works. I absolutely love it. We are incredible. Our bodies are so remarkable. And we cannot, like I said this earlier, we cannot separate our mind from our body. They are completely intertwined. There is no separation. It drives me crazy when we try to do that, when we try to say like, this is good for mental health, this is good for physical health. They cannot be separated. They are one in the same. So, doing good for one is doing good for the other. The only time it's not is when it's disguised as diet culture, when it's disguised as health, but it's actually diet culture, then it is not good for either your physical health or your mental health. So, okay. So serotonin, I think I mentioned it earlier. It is a neurotransmitter that regulates a lot of your functions. So it regulates your sleep. So if you struggle with sleep, this is something that you want to pay attention to is your serotonin. It regulates your mood, your emotions. And like I said before, your mood and your emotions, they trigger physical responses in your body, right? So the serotonin is going to trigger emotions, which are then going to trigger a physical response in your body, okay? Which is going to be detrimental long-term. It's great for immediate survival, but it is not good for long-term. If it is a negative emotion, such as fear, well, I say negative, but they all serve a purpose. But if it's, fear, anger, any of those, it's going to have a detrimental effect. Appetite. Serotonin actually regulates your appetite as well. So it tells you when you're satisfied and when you need more. It reduces your pain. So studies have shown that serotonin is just as effective as some painkillers, some prescription painkillers. So that is amazing, that we can control our own internal pain reduction. You don't have to rely so much on medications. And the ability to focus. Serotonin helps you be able to focus for long periods of time. So guess where 95% of this neurotransmitter is produced? Any guesses? Okay, we've got brain. those are right. Those are neurotransmitter, right? That makes sense. That does make sense. But you are wrong. It is actually 95% of it is produced in your gastrointestinal tract. So again, our mind and our body are completely connected, right? Completely connected. So what you can deduce from that is what you eat affects your brain function, right? It affects all of those things that I just listed before. So your sleep, your mood, your appetite, your pain tolerance, and your ability to focus. That's amazing. Think of the power that you have just by eating certain foods. That's amazing. Okay, so the function of these transmitters is actually greatly influenced by your healthy bacteria in your gut. So whether or not that serotonin can be produced and taken up matters by, it's influenced by this bacteria. So many of you have heard of probiotics, right? That's what I'm referring to here. There's a lot of different strains of probiotics. These are the healthy bacteria that help break down food, help you absorb nutrients. And fun fact, I'm just going to throw something in here real quick. Did you know that your body is made up more, it has more bacteria in it, more of these both healthy and unhealthy bacteria than it does human cells? What? So this is really important, really important. This makes up a lot of your body, and we need to make sure that we have enough of it and the right kind of it. So a lot of people are instructed to take probiotics, especially if they've been on an antibiotic, to kill off, a bad bacteria in their body. If they have an infection and you take antibiotics, then you need to replenish the good bacteria. And over-the-counter pills, they're not bad, right? Like that's good to have in your arsenal. However, a lot of them have completely lost their potency. This, you think of bacteria, it's alive, right? And if you are taking a pill that has been sitting on a shelf, exposed to varying temperatures, in different lights, a lot of them are in opaque bottles, which is good. So they don't have that light exposure, but still the temperature is huge and how long it's been sitting on the shelf. Unfortunately, most of that bacteria is no longer alive by the time you consume it. So while they can be somewhat helpful, I'm not saying not to take them. The quality varies greatly between different brands as well. And again, like that storage piece of it, it's tough. So I really prefer that people get it from their food. So this is, I mentioned it before ahead of time. I forgot I had the slide in here. So healthy bacteria also breaks down your food, prevents toxins from entering your body. So it keeps that bad bacteria at bay. And it creates neuropathways that go from your gut to your brain. Neuropathways that will carry that serotonin. So hugely important. If you don't have enough of this, it leads to, you stop breaking down your food properly, you get leaky gut syndrome, your serotonin levels drop, you become sick more often, and it leads to inflammation throughout your body, including your brain, because remember, this has created neural pathways from your gut to your brain, so that opens it up to inflammation. Okay. All right. So I want to be mindful. We're at half an hour already, and I told you guys like we're keeping these to about 30 minutes. So I'm going to just go through those steps of what you can do to improve your mental health. So the first thing is mindful eating. So why am I going to eat? What is the reason behind it? Checking in with your body, connecting with your emotions, with your bodily hunger. Where are you feeling that hunger? What is it serving? What am I trying to fill? Am I actually trying to fill my stomach? Has it been, a few hours since I've eaten? Am I hungry, legitimately hungry? Or does it feel more like a craving? Are you craving a certain food? And pay attention to the type of food. So some things that I typically find, if you're craving something salty, crunchy, that's an indication that you are stress eating. That is stress. And you're, needing to chew something loudly that helps mitigate stress, and salty things. Also, when you're really stressed out, your adrenals are overworking and you crave more salt. Are you craving sugary foods? So again, that signifies to me, if you're craving sugary foods, that you've had a dip in serotonin. It's probably for mood regulation. Are you sad? Are you lonely? Are you bored? Those are all things that create that type of a craving. There's a lot you can get into depth with that, but really start checking in. What is this hunger trying to fill? Okay. And if what I'm choosing is that going to fulfill this need in a positive way? So what I mean by that is, I'm not one for restriction. I don't think that restricting your food is a good thing, but being aware of the motivation is super important, and it puts you in control of that. So you can decide whether or not that's a good choice for you long-term or not. If you have had a really sad day, and it's just one day, right? Like something really sad happened, and you're really feeling like you need a little bit of a boost, and your favorite thing is, I don't know, chocolate ice cream. That seems to be a pretty common one. And you indulge in a dish of chocolate ice cream, but you know it, and you're saying to yourself, this is going to feel like the hug that I need right now. And my brain needs a little bit of joy. That is perfectly acceptable. And you are acknowledging it, and you actually will feel more joy from it in that way. Versus if you didn't acknowledge that, if you didn't put in that step and you just had that chocolate ice cream, chances are you would beat yourself up afterwards, because you would have a lot of negative self-talk around that. Because you didn't actually give yourself permission to fill that need. I hope that makes sense to you. And if you recognize that I'm craving that, and oh gosh, it must be that I'm feeling lonely, maybe you can problem solve. If it's not really that you want that, and it's really that you're looking for connection, call a friend, do something else to fill that hunger. Okay, that signal is there to tell you something that your mind or body needs. So pay attention to it, but don't be lazy. Find out, ask yourself what it is that you truly need. And that's mindful eating. Okay, and increasing your consumption of fermented food. So this is where that probiotic, good bacteria comes from. And I put a note in there, no, sorry, alcohol doesn't count for this one. It is fermented, but you're not getting the benefits from it. Sorry. So the fermented foods that you do want to consume are yogurt, kefir, kimchi and sauerkraut, miso, kombucha, apple cider vinegar, all of those. So most cultures have a fermented food that they embrace in their culture. And these are some examples of the most common ones that you'll see. try and incorporate some of those. And especially if you have been on antibiotics, increase the amount that you are consuming. I will say, especially for yogurt, so what feeds the bad bacteria in your gut is sugar. Okay. And unfortunately, yogurt typically has a lot of sugar added to it, the commercial yogurts that are sold in our stores. So that one, although it's most popular, tends to not be necessarily the best choice because you are getting the probiotics in it. However, you're also getting this huge dose of sugar that's feeding and allowing the bad bacteria to reproduce at a larger rate. So it's a little counterintuitive, but it's still better than not having any. I'll say that. Okay. And again, so just like I was talking about, sugary processed foods, replacing them with fruits and vegetables. So this is twofold, and you'll see on the next slide why I'm focusing on fruits and vegetables. But the sugar, like I said, feeds the bad bacteria, but it degrades your mental health in numerous other ways. And of course, it produces a large spike in insulin, which for your physical health is not good. So trying to reduce the glycemic index, which is how fast a food turns to glucose in your blood. So usually that's foods that are highly processed, right? Because they don't have any of the fiber or nutrients that kind of slows that process down. So any sugary, highly processed foods are going to degrade your physical and your mental health. Okay. These nutrients in particular are really, really, really important for your mental health. If you are trying to improve your mental health, these are the ones that you really want to hone in on and focus on. So zinc is typically found in legumes, seeds, and nuts. So, if you focus on those, you'll be doing well. Your omega-3s are your fish, fatty fish, chia seeds, and flaxseed. All are good sources of omega-3s. B12, unfortunately, the best source for that is meat. If you are vegetarian or vegan, it is really important that you supplement that nutrient, like super important. You supplement that using sublingual supplements. So sublingual means that it's something that dissolves or goes under your tongue, gets absorbed under your tongue. So that can be in liquid drop form, or it can be in a dissolving pill. But that is the best, because once you swallow it, it goes into your gut. It can be difficult to absorb. So sublingual is the preferred method. Vitamin C. So surprisingly, one of the best sources for vitamin C is kiwi. So if you've ever had a kiwi fruit, awesome. So most people attribute it to like oranges and lemons. While those are very high in vitamin C, kiwi is one of the tops. And also a lot of vegetables are high in vitamin C. So you've got broccoli, peppers, kale, tomatoes, which are actually technically a fruit, but most people call them a vegetable. And then parsley also is very high in vitamin C, and that's a good option too. And then our iron sources are going to be, well, first of all, if you cook in a cast iron pan, that will leach some iron into your food over time. So I do tend to use cast iron. I love the way it cooks too. And then some food sources are going to be your tofu, your leafy greens, like spinach and kale and all those. Lentils, again, beef, broccoli, and raisins. So the trick with iron, it improves absorption if you combine the iron with vitamin C. So if you were to have, let's say, your leafy greens, squeeze a lemon on it, and it's going to improve the absorption. Okay, and our fifth takeaway, is make a plan to incorporate all of those other health boosting lifestyle habits, mental health boosting, that we talked about earlier. So the exercise, outdoor activities, social connection, quality of sleep, stretching, meditation, or prayer, all of those things you want to try and incorporate into your lifestyle. So you can go back to last week's building healthy habits, and with this in mind, think of the areas that you need improvement and try and tackle those using the tips for building healthy habits. Okay. So just real quick, because we are so over time and I'm so sorry, but if you are still with me, put in the comments if any of these are things that you are going to tackle between now and next week. A lot of people really liked the nutrition tips. So that's awesome. A lot of people are going to focus on that, probably because that's really tangible. I gave you some like real takeaways with that, like this food will do this, right? Yes. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of yeses. Okay. I get it. And if we had hours, I could go over all of them, but my specialty is nutrition. So I thought I would spend the majority of the time focusing on that. Okay. That's awesome, you guys. I'm so excited to see what comes of this. And next week, report back to me, tell me how it went. And our topic for next week, which is our final week, is going to be healthy eating simplified. And I am creating a course on intuitive eating to be a follow-up to this. So if anyone is interested, I will have details about that after next week's. So this has been really popular, and I think there's a lot of potential for community building, and I'm going to create the course. And then, as much as I hate Facebook, I think it's the best platform now. We've tried using the communities in our online university, and it's hard because it's like one more thing that people have to go to check. And a lot of people are already on Facebook. So I think we're going to create a Facebook group, and anyone who enrolls in the course will automatically get added to that Facebook group where we can build community and help one another real time, while also having these discussions. Okay. So keep that in mind, and I will let you guys go. Thank you so much for spending the last 45 minutes with me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all next week.